Thanks for your presence here today, and thanks for your interest in the University of Louisville. It's important to me to have opportunities like this to address the media and to the best of my ability to be able to answer your questions. I think that we're a state organization, we're a community resource, and we have an obligation to be transparent with our faculty, our students, our staff, and the community. So my style is open communication. I'm happy to be available for these kinds of events on a regular basis. And as you'll see from the way we have been conducting business here just in the last 3 weeks, that we tend to be forthcoming with documents and letters and responses to various organizations. It's not necessary for open records requests when there's information that is to be publicly available. We offer it up and put it on our website and make sure that it's available to our campus community and to those of you who have an obligation to report it. So we'll do our very best to maintain that kind of a real open relationship, certainly as long as I'm in this position. So this is my third week on the job, so I'm not going to claim to have all the answers yet, but I will tell you that we're working diligently on a whole list of things, most of which are known, certainly through previous press and on the campus at large. So the list is long and includes many things that are critical to the success of the university. And I always like to start with something positive, and that is that we are focusing a lot of attention on accelerating planning for the growth of the university in years to come, for this to be a vibrant organization for years and years to come. It's important that we focus on opportunities that we have to expand and offer more services in areas where we are needed and where we can be of value to the community. I think a lot of times we lose sight of the fact that there are literally hundreds of community service projects that the University of Louisville engages that help so many in our community. So many aspects of the community and state are impacted by the work of the University of Louisville. And a lot of times those stories don't get enough attention. And so it's important to me in the days and weeks ahead to find a way to bring as many of those kinds of stories to light so that people can understand the good work that our faculty and students and staff do every day. I think it's also very important to note that we are an education institution. That's the primary purpose of a university, is to teach students and prepare them for the workforce. And so this is obviously very much in keeping with the themes promoted by Mayor Fisher, who I met with yesterday and discussed opportunities and the way the city is looking at the growth of the workforce. It's in keeping with Governor Bevin and his desire to make sure that universities continue to produce well-trained individuals who can join the workforce in the Commonwealth and help meet unmet needs. So preparing people for our workforce and for their livelihood is obviously a cornerstone of what the University of Louisville is all about. And so in order to do that, we have to find ways to grow responsibly and make sure that resources are there for the future so that those kinds of investments can be made. So whether we're thinking about our health sciences enterprise, which is obviously a very big part of what we do, whether we're thinking about our engineering school, which obviously is an area that has attracted a lot of attention in terms of an area for growth potential. These are areas that we're spending a lot of time brainstorming with our team and understanding the types of investments and changes that would need to be made to be sure that those cornerstones of our operation are viable and are productive. So that is that's a big part of my agenda, and I like to mention it first because growth and planning for the future I think is a very, very big part of the job that I'm currently serving in. So what else are we doing? Well, it's budget time. Budgets are tough. This is a difficult year for us for a variety of reasons. As you know, we are not going to be raising tuition for our students in the next academic year. So now we're talking about July 17 through June of 18, the upcoming academic year. We have a flat tuition. It was announced last summer, and we're holding true to that commitment. So I'm excited about that for our students, both our existing students and students who will be joining the university in the coming year. But as you might understand, that poses challenges for those of us who are tasked with achieving a balanced budget, because we will not have additional revenue associated with tuition above and beyond what we have today. So that's an opportunity and a challenge that we gladly accept. So we're right in the early phases of budget season. We are not finished with the budget preparation work yet. The schedule is that we present it to the Board of Trustees in May at their meeting for approval. So we have about 3 months, which is not a long time, to conclude work, and we will have a balanced budget at the University of Louisville next year, which is also something I'm proud of, but something that represents a challenge for all of us to make sure that happens. Other things that I have been focused on include making sure that the university is responding in every way possible to the concerns about accreditation that have been imposed by SACS. Of course, the university is on probation, but still has full accreditation. I think it's very important that everyone understand that. The university has not lost its accreditation. We are on probation, and we are working closely with SACS to be sure that their concerns are addressed. So what you'll see, you've probably noted in the last week or two, that as we prepare documents, or as documents become available related to the conversation with SACS, whether it's related to the foundation or other things that they have expressed interest in, that we're trying to share those with the campus community and with the media. We're putting documents on my website, louisville.edu president, so that they are easily available to you for your reporting. And so some recent examples of that include our response to the state auditor, which was posted this week, the letter from SACS to us about the state audit. We wanted to make sure that everyone was aware of this dialogue that's taking place. We have an obligation now to respond to SACS ourselves about this issue, but we have until the 3rd of March to do so. And so when that response is submitted, you'll have access to that as well. We want to make sure that you're informed, up to date with the way in which we are responding to these issues. Why don't I stop, since we only have a half an hour? I could talk about a lot of things. I want to make sure I can get to as many of your questions as possible, so feel free to start and take it a little bit easy on me. It's my 3rd week, so I might not have the answer to every single question.
My first question is two-part. First, I want to confirm that you have recused yourself as president of the foundation. I know that there was an overlap in that administration. And then what is your role in helping the foundation get back on track, being joint partners and trying to get everything good to go with SACS?
It's a good question. So there's no ambiguity about this. The president of the University of Louisville is no longer the president of the University of Louisville Foundation. That joint relationship no longer exists. I am a member of the University of Louisville Foundation board. There are 15 members on that board. The only U of L employee who serves on that board is the president. Then there are 4 trustee members. So 4 members of the 13 who serve on the U of L Board of Trustees are the representatives to the U of L Foundation Board. So those 4 plus me makes 5. The other 10 are community members. So that's my relationship. The president is a member of that board so as to allow line of sight, obviously, and dialogue between the 2 organizations, because they are obviously intimately related. But the University of Louisville president no longer controls the foundation.
Question. So while you maintain your membership on that board, what else are you doing in a leadership capacity? Because I understand you were also an interim leader in the health sciences department before you took on the interim role of the president. So where are your time priorities? How are you handling being an interim of both the presidency of the university, but also being a president in which department, I don't recall, but within the health sciences.
Sure. So I have two roles right now. I'm the interim president of the university, and I am remaining as the interim executive vice president for health affairs on the other campus. Now, the reason that it's possible to do that is because of the teams that we have in place and the ability that I've had to delegate certain responsibilities to other deans and administrators, particularly on the health sciences campus, who have been very gracious about stepping up and helping me with a lot of the commitments to make this possible. The bottom line is I am having to just be very careful about my priorities, and I'm spending my time on those things that are extremely important to both campuses. I'm very efficient. I work a lot of hours, and I delegate, and it's not forever, and so that's why it works. The reason that I thought it was important to retain a role at the health sciences campus is simply because of what a big part of the overall university mission the health sciences represent. So about 55% of all UofL faculty are on the health sciences campus. About 80% of the research occurs there, and a significant portion of the overall university's financial issues reside on the health sciences campus and at University of Louisville Hospital. So I think it would be a mistake to ignore such a substantial part of the university's livelihood during this period of time.
Doctor, when do you guys expect an actual search to begin for a permanent replacement to the University of Louisville for president, and are you interested in that position?
Well, so two questions. The Board of Trustees will make that decision. So I have no role in deciding the time frame for the search. I know they are discussing at their meeting this week the composition of the search committee. And search for a university president is a multi-step process. First of all, there has to be establishment of a search committee, and then a decision by the board about the optimal timing in which to begin the search. There's then a process for the selection of a search firm, and that is a selection process as well. And then once the committee and the firm are in place, then the actual search itself begins. So there are several steps there, and it can take some time. I've been told to expect that I could be in this role about a year and a half or so, which I'm prepared to do. But in terms of the exact timing, you would need to address that question to the U of L Board of Trustees, because it's their decision. The second part of your question, I am not actively campaigning for the job as president. I think the best way to answer the question is I've been here 23 years, and I have always been happy to do what the University of Louisville has asked me to do if I feel I'm qualified and if they feel I'm qualified. And so I think the future is somewhat hard to predict, but it's not my intent to actively campaign for the position.
But if asked to serve, you would?
I would certainly consider it and talk to the board, and if that was considered the best option for the university.
From your conversations with SACS, what do you think the state legislature, state government should do or not do to help UofL in its formation?
So there has been an active dialogue with the governor and with members of the state legislature about issues around accreditation that pertain to the law as it pertains to the composition of the UofL Board of Trustees. That's the primary issue. And what I can tell you is that all of the legislators we've talked to, first of all, are keenly aware of the issue. They understand how critical it is for the university for the issues with SACS to be resolved. And they all have very good intentions to help the University of Louisville through this process. And I think what's taking place right now is a dialogue to understand the best way to accomplish that in terms of the wording of legislation so that it's consistent with the objectives and the needs of the accrediting organization, and also so that there's some correlation in activities between other institutions in the state, because of course what we're discussing here is applicable not just to the University of Louisville, but this pertains to all state universities and all universities that are accredited through SACS. So that's why the process is somewhat long and complicated, because there's a lot of interaction and correlation of ideas that have to be performed.
Do you think the last piece of legislation that ultimately reorganized the board exacerbated the concerns of SACS?
We have no indication at this point that that's the case. We've not been told that. So it would be speculative to say.
What about the Stivers bill that would give the governor the power to abolish any higher education board?
Well, that bill is still a work in progress and has not been presented for a vote. And so, it's kind of hard to comment on a moving target. They're gaining information and working together to refine that bill so that it's the best that it can be. So at this point, it's still a work in progress.
Is there any concern that might make matters more perilous for UofL, or you're still looking at the moving target?
Well, it's a moving target, and again, we have no indication from SACS that is the case, that there is an increase in risk. I think everyone understands that it's obviously very important, and SACS is going to look at it, but we've had no feedback to suggest that anything that has happened so far has put the university in a worse position. There's no indication of that.
The governor said during his State of the Commonwealth address, talked about outcome-based funding.
Mm-hmm.
He did indicate that there were some presidents who were reluctant or weren't necessarily buying into the idea. Where do you stand on it as far as outcome-based funding?
It's a great question. So I was there for the State of the Commonwealth address last Wednesday night, and for one, I'm very much in favor of performance-based funding. Because even though I'm an academic at heart, I have a very business-like approach to running an organization because it's I think the best way to do things. Business has to be viable if it's going to be around in the future, and it's a mistake, I think, for organizations to not think that the resources that they have are going to be related to their productivity and meeting metrics and serving the needs of the city, state, and nation for that matter. So I think to be held accountable and to be paid, at least in part, based on some kinds of metrics is an expectation we should all have. Now, universities, of course, are all going to have differing opinions about the way that should be constructed based on the kind of work they do and where they think they may be advantaged or disadvantaged in the process. What we know of performance-based funding so far is the type of thing that I think we could all be supportive of. It has to do with producing more graduates, has to do with helping students get through their education in a reasonable period of time. I mean, we would like to see every student who comes to the University of Louisville finish their education. I mean, it's not acceptable that people don't finish their degree or take an extraordinarily long period of time to finish their degree. We need to improve that. We need to make sure that the graduates we're producing are employable. So, what are the workforce needs of the city and state, and are we meeting that? Those are the kinds of things. Certainly, that's not all of it, but those are key elements of a performance-based program for state appropriations.
If the board doesn't ask you to stay on as permanent president, do you plan to go back to health?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. That's a job that I love, and the Health Science Campus is where I've spent 23 years, and I'm a physician at heart.
How involved are you in these ongoing negotiations regarding the KFC Yum Center? And do you think the University of Louisville needs to contribute more, and if so, how much?
Well, so I'm just starting in that conversation, and so what has happened there is a consultant has been brought in to help the city, state, and the University of Louisville and the Arena Authority understand what kinds of changes to the current funding arrangement might need to be made. We have not been asked specifically to make any changes at this point, other than that we are open to a dialogue about what a restructured financing arrangement would look like. And so obviously we intend to be fully cooperative and participatory in that conversation to understand what is needed. We're all proud of the Yum Center. It's a fabulous venue for our basketball teams, for graduation events, for so many other parts of the university's life. And so we want to make sure that is a sustainable venue.
Do you think the University of Louisville should contribute more, though, given all the concerns from the city?
I don't have enough information yet, really, to be able to answer that. I think the university should be a fair participant, and as I learn more about what that means, I'll be happy to share it with you.
Are you saying that the university hasn't been asked to alter its lease?
We've been asked to participate in a dialogue about altering the lease, but no specific ask or documents have been presented to me.
Can you
you say legislators have good intentions. Does that mean you're uncertain about some of the bills that they're considering? Is there uncertainty that indicated some uncertainty about what is going on in the legislature? Or is that not what-
No, I'm sorry if you interpret it that way. All of the legislators I've spoken to have expressed very, very supportive views about the University of Louisville and want to help this organization. I think they realize what an important part of the community it is. 23,000 students and 8,000 faculty and staff work at the university and at University Hospital, so this is a very large organization that means a lot to the community, and I think the legislature recognizes that. I think all I was intending to convey is that there's always dialogue between politicians about varying ways to accomplish whatever it is in question, but I think their intent is uniformly to find ways to help the university.
Is there a timeline for SACS for resolving the accreditation probation?
Well, SACS only meets a couple of times a year. A lot of these accrediting bodies meet mid-year and again at the end of the year, and that is true for SACS as well. So these processes don't play out quickly. I think that's why when a probation is issued, they tell you it's for a year because the anticipation is that it may very well take that long just to get through the next cycle of meetings and resolve it. Certainly if there's a way to do that sooner, we're all on board, but our understanding is that it may take as long as they have projected.
What does performance-based funding say to a French or history major?
Well, I don't think it says anything specifically about that. Okay, so you're probably referencing some comments that were made at the State of the Commonwealth address about that. The performance-based funding is most heavily focused on degree production and on graduation rates, and there's some focus on the types of degrees in terms of focus, for instance, on what is referred to as the STEM-H type programs for science, technology, engineering, and math. That's not to say that those are the only things that a university can or should do. So while there may be some reward for production of certain degrees, there's also reward for numbers of degrees in general, and a university serves so many different needs of its students and its communities. You can't limit the focus of the university just to a few certain areas.
Has the university sent SACS response, or SACS asking for a response on more information for the 3 possible infractions, or the 3 additional infractions the university may have imposed?
So now, are you referring to the state audit report?
Yes.
Okay.
Has the university sent information regarding that to SACS yet?
That's the letter that's due March 3rd. And so that's being prepared, and when it is, it'll be distributed to the campus and to the media. So we're working on that currently.
Is there any worry from the NCAA about basketball and what's going on with that right now?
Well, so like everything, we're trying to be cooperative and participatory with the NCAA on all aspects of that ongoing process. You'll recall that very recently, in the last couple of weeks, we submitted a response to the NCAA about the allegations from them that we had received. As we've done with everything, we shared that with the campus community and with the media as soon as it was available. And we are now waiting for their response to our response. It's one of those kind of processes where it goes back and forth, and there's often 2 or 3 months allowed for the response of each organization. So it's kind of a slow-moving process. As of today, there are no new developments to report on that.
Should UofL be in the tournament this year?
Well, we haven't been told otherwise. I'm not quite sure how to answer your question.
Do you think they should, like last year, because when the decision was made not to enter the tournament,
Right.
do you feel comfortable with Louisville playing in the tournament this year?
Personally, I do. My impression is that the university made decisions last year which were on our own accord to remain out of postseason play. I think that was a very significant move on the part of the university, and it was meant to recognize how seriously the university viewed the charges that had been brought against it. Since then, as I indicated, we've been cooperating fully with the NCAA. They have not asked us to do anything further, and so I don't know why we would step out and take another action until we hear back from them about what they think is appropriate.
Do you anticipate that the transition away from the joint operating agreement of the University Hospital is going to go smoothly?
That's going very well. People would be amazed if they knew the number of people and the number of committees focused on that. University Medical Center has a consulting engagement with a company called ECG to help with this transition. Kentucky One Health has a consulting arrangement with a company called FTI to do the same thing from its perspective. We have engaged National Legal Counsel to participate in this. And there's an endless number of work streams and teams focused on this transition. Very tight schedule. A group of people who have done this before, who understand the time frame in which specific tasks need to be accomplished. And so we're right on target and not concerned about the ability to have UMC regain management of the hospital July 1st.
Would you support an external search for a permanent president?
Oh, absolutely. I think external searches are important at universities. You have to see what all talent is available, who's interested, and it gives validity to the process.